Kilonotes is a handwriting note-taking app that is available for all your Apple devices. That is your iPhone, iPad, Mac, and even Vision Pro. It's also available on Android. The app costs $6.99 a one-time purchase, but it also has some in-app purchases that are subscriptions. While I was in the App Store, I thought it best to just update all my apps while I was at it. There's also a subscription for the AI member, which I'm happy is a separate purchase. So if you're anything like me, you simply won't bother with it. This review focuses on the iPad version of Kilonotes that I got for a one-time purchase. So if you're on the subscription and you notice some differences, please let me know in the comments. Hey guys, it's Robsy back with Paperless X, a channel dedicated to easing your digital transformation. If you're new to our channel, hello. Make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications to join the family. If you're already subscribed, fantastic human, welcome back. To master the use of the apps that we cover on this channel, make sure you head over to our second YouTube channel, Paperless Humans, for both free and paid courses. You can also access them on our website via Patreon, and we even have them on Udemy if you prefer that. We will have a link to all of that in the description down below. Kilonotes has a lot of book covers and page templates for new notebooks that can either be portrait or landscape. Basic templates even have a few color options, but without knowing my page size, I thought to try my luck with our digital notebooks. I like knowing my page sizes. At the 150% zoom, it felt like a decent A4 page. For those using Kilonotes, have you got used to not having page size options? With so many cute page templates, I struggle to find simple, minimalist ones. That is one thing I particularly find off-putting with Kilonotes. The templates are just too colorful, ridiculously too cute, and for me, it makes it difficult to take the app seriously. It reminds me of Kilonote to some extent. I thought it was great that we can import templates into the app, but that's only limited to images, which is not very impressive in 2024. I then stuck with lined paper that has no line spacing options. And as I thought, I actually didn't like the ruled paper template in the app. That is because Kilonote has no page size or line spacing options for your notebooks. And if you're using digital notebooks or planners, you are stuck importing them every time you want to use them in the app. Kilonote's user interface is much better than its page templates, refreshingly so. It is minimalist with small, modern icons. It's simply beautiful. I love that the toolbar is customizable. At its minimalist, you have one tool in the middle of the toolbar and a few others on the side. The tools are still very easily available, even after you've removed them. A customizable toolbar has become as standard for handwriting note-taking apps in 2024. I love that the toolbar is anchored to the edge of your screen. It won't be floating over any of your notes. The toolbar is not mobile though, so you can only have it at the top and nowhere else. It is a shame, but that's not a massive deal breaker. Kilonote is a very good looking note-taking app. The app has 4 pen types with 5 favorite color options on the toolbar. 5 is decent, more would be great. You can pick up your pen colors using the grid, slider, hex code, or even color picker. And those are all the options you need for picking custom colors in a handwriting note-taking app. I always find 3 pen thicknesses on the toolbar limiting. Your pen thickness ranges from 0.1 to 4 millimeters. The gel pen is really just a ballpoint pen. I really wish the developers would come up with a universal naming system for the different tools. It would just make it that much easier for users. The fountain pen in Kilonote actually feels like a refined gel pen with tapered ends, but not enough thickness range to make it a fountain pen. It does feel much better than the gel pen, which is the ballpoint. See how confusing this is. And this one is quite usable. You can make the ends more rounded or sharper depending on your preferences, and the app has more settings to play around with: the minimum width, pressure sensitivity. After playing around with these settings for a while, I did manage to get a tool that works for me. The differences are not very easy to notice though. I'm even doubting they changed anything. I applied the same settings to what the developers call the pen in the app. This one has a pressure sensitivity option that is obvious to see. And it looks great. Just the kind of fountain pen you'd expect to find in a handwriting note taking app on the iPad in 2024. So, it looks like my favorite pen type in Kilonote is not a fountain pen, but just a pen. Technically, though, it is a fountain pen. It has all the characteristics. Perhaps the developers should consider renaming the current fountain pen. It's more of a gel, and the gel pen is actually a ballpoint. Then their pen is the fountain. Which brings us to the calligraphy pen. It even has more options, but none of them, no matter what you do, actually give the calligraphy look you'd expect to find from a calligraphy pen. Kilonotes has the most confusing pen toolset I have seen. The last three pens kind of look alike. All things considered, you can find a pen tool that works for you in the app. You might get frustrated while trying them out the first time, but once you decide on one, it should be easier. Kilonotes does not have a pencil tool though. Let's hope the developers can give us the tool in the future. The highlighter tool has a similar setup you have for your pen tool. I like the default colors that they have on the toolbar. They're perfect, and that is very rare to find. You have three thicknesses, and the range is exactly the same as you get for the pen tool, which is very odd because usually the highlighter is much thicker than a pen tool, obviously. So the thinnest option is unusable, but the thickest is not thick enough. At least it goes behind your ink and layering it doesn't dim your notes. Random thought: Kilonote is especially buggy. Stuff be malfunctioning randomly. Yeah, the highlighter can be straight if you want it to be neat. The handwriting experience in Kilonote is amazing. It really has one of the best handwriting feels you can get on the iPad, and that's really exciting to see. Palm rejection is perfect. What more can you ask for? The app has the worst eraser execution I have seen though in a handwriting note taking app. When you're using it, it feels like a highlighter, which is very unpleasant. It is selective for the highlighter, which is good. But the pixel eraser isn't great. It's not very smooth. It also erases per stroke and it supports auto deselection. You have three thicknesses on the toolbar that you can't change, and that's never really an issue for eraser tools. What do you guys think about the eraser in Kilonotes? Do tell. The app displays your zoom percentage when you zoom in on your notes. We appreciate that any day. You can zoom up to 1500%, but zoom out only to 80%. It is a wide range, certainly one of the best we have seen on the market. I love that you can lock your zoom percentage, but the app forgets it if you close it. You will have to remember it for every notebook, it seems. Then that is not really ideal, so we hope in the future that we can have the option to save our favorite zoom levels, to save the zoom levels that we prefer, since we have to do this every time. The zoom window also has an impressive range. It supports auto advance, which works great when you're moving on the same line. It is terrible when you jump between lines. You'll be forced to move the window manually almost every single time. But does have a margin. Not sure how useful that would be if it's going to be jumping to the wrong place, to the wrong line. That might actually not be that useful. Pen tools would be nice to have on the zoom toolbar, because at the moment the toolbar is stuck at the top, so pen tools are a bit too far to reach. In Kilonotes, you can draw your shapes and watch them transform. They remain editable after you've drawn them, but it's a bit of a process. We should be able to tap our shapes and edit them without any extra steps. So we look forward to having that in the future. You can add and remove fill color, and your shape border and fill color can be different colors. That's always the perfect setup you want to have for your shapes. Resizing and rotation also have the same long process to get to them, which can be tiring if you work with a lot of shapes, because me just trying to do this couple of minutes, I was already frustrated. And changing your fill color or your shape color is worse, especially when you want it to be different from the fill color. The Shapes tool adds some unique lines, curves, and shapes. It just drops them on the page and you can adjust them. These shapes are a lot easier to select if you want to edit them, but they're also a limited variety and not as flexible as the shapes you draw yourself. The border and fill color are a lot easier to adjust for these shapes that you use the Shapes tool. The app doesn't have a border thickness option for your shapes, whether they're drawn or you've added them. So for filled shapes, you barely see the border. You can stretch, shrink, and rotate the shapes. These shapes somewhat feel like images sometimes, the one that you've added. But overall, the Shapes tool has all the features that you need. They're not well packaged though, because something that takes a single step to do in Apple Notes will take you 2 or 3 in Kilonotes. If this happened once, I wouldn't make a fuss, but every time you interact with each shape is a bit too much. The ruler tool looks too basic. That's because it is very basic. I think it measures in centimeters, but we're left to guess that because I couldn't find anywhere in the settings to confirm this. It works like any other ruler, but the more I encounter these digital rulers, the more I appreciate physical ones. Maybe that's because they're the ones that I used when I was growing up. You can add text boxes to your notes in Kilonotes. They're easy to resize, adjust, and even rotate. Text boxes just make your handwritten notes fun. You even have template text boxes that you can use. The app has a few of them that you can choose from. Adding a background color, border thickness, adjusting the text boxes, and adding a shadow with some padding will give you some decent text boxes in the app. And all these options, the exact same ones we have seen in GoodNotes. It's like they just literally just copied and pasted that code. You also get alignment, character spacing, and line spacing options. The line spacing is not very wide, but is quite impressive for handwriting note-taking app. Character spacing is new. I'm always thrilled when I discover new features, no matter how small. You have a decent font collection, and Kilonote supports custom fonts. Those are always fun to play around with. You get font size ranging from 1 to 200. Again, we're not sure what these are, but I'm assuming they're points. You also have preset sizes for your paragraphs and headings. Like with pretty much every tool in the app, you have 5 favorite colors for your text. It makes it easy to change the color of your text in a single step. The fewer the steps, the better, especially in Kilonotes, where some steps are just too many for simple things. You can format your text to make it bold, underline, and struck out. After all this effort, you definitely want to save this, and Kilonotes supports that. The app lets you save as many templates as you need. It's funny that the developers have these for the text tool, but not for the pen tool. Just saying. Even more impressive is Kilonotes' ability to extract information into your text boxes. You can extract information from any notebook in the app. I love the text extraction, though the OCR for it is terrible. I thought it would work better with text, but it didn't. It's still a work in progress, but a very interesting tool to have. For someone who hates using text boxes, this could really change that for me. So let's hope the developers can perfect it. Do any of you guys use this feature? Maybe it works in a different language? Let me know. Kilonotes can create hyperlinks to any notebook in the app. The links are very easy to create and navigate. That is simply fantastic. Not many handwriting note-taking apps can create hyperlinks, and this is such a game-changing feature for any digital note-taker, even if it's only limited to text at the moment and to all the text in the text box. We do hope we'll be able to select the text in the future, but we'll take whatever we have in the meantime. You can also add web links to your notes. Hyperlinks are awesome any day. You can add photos to your notes. I love that your images are easy to select, move around, resize, and rotate. I hope we get this for the Shapes tool, because this is how these features should work. They really should be this easy. You can also stretch and shrink your images. Cropping was difficult on this blue image. Was because it was better on a white background, so. You also have a rectangular crop, and the app has an opacity option for your images. Kilonotes can do a lot with your images. You can flip them, crop them in different shapes that look like frames. One of those cute things you get in Kilonotes that I find pointless. But you can also remove backgrounds, and that is a useful feature. I don't like that the app saves these as stickers of sorts. All I want is to add them to my notes, not keep a copy of them. Automatically, I know it's created some sticker somewhere, and I'm just compelled to go and delete it. The app should maybe ask if I want to save it as a sticker, but automatically add it to my notes, because it seems more work to add it to my notes than it is to save it as a sticker, which doesn't make sense. Kilonotes has a lot of features you don't get in many handwriting note-taking apps for images, but I can't say that they're life-changing. There are 3 ways to use type in a handwriting note-taking app. Could be straight, freehand, or rectangular. Kilonotes had to use my least favorite of the 3. Just feels like too much work, with too little flexibility than the other 2 options. The app gives you 5 styles for your tape, and you can't change them, which feels a little like stepping back in the past, but tape is tape. I mean, how creative can you get with it? It works like you'd expect tape to work, with an option to open or close all of them at once. You can also choose to open all the tape for a specific style, which is new and handy if you style or color code your tape. Tape is simple and functional in Kilonotes. The app has a Doodle Pen with cute patterns. They're great for digital planning for those of us who like decorating. You can even adjust the brush to make them as small as 2 millimeters to as big as 29.9 millimeters, which is an odd number. And this is the size we're expecting for the highlighter tool, actually. But no, they put it for the Doodle Pen. I shall not comment. If you're into decorating your digital planners, what do you think about these goodies in Kilonotes? Because obviously you guys don't want to know what I think. If the Doodle Pen is not enough, you can use stickers that you have to download first, one pack at a time. So I guess you'll only be downloading the ones that you need because they are a lot. I wish the sidebar was big to make it easier to navigate them. I appreciate the anatomy stickers. Just had to acknowledge them for a sec. But stickers are really just images. They have the exact same options, which makes sense that the app creates stickers from your photos. You also get paper textures that I'm trying to figure out how I would use them. If you're using them, please help me out. Audio recording has become a standard for handwriting note-taking apps. It's unacceptable to not have the tool in 2024. The first thing to check is whether or not it syncs with your handwriting. In Kilonotes, it does not. And the audio quality is not great. It has zero noise reduction. It picks up all the environmental sounds, even distant ones that you'd naturally miss. You can adjust the playback speed up to 3 times, which is faster than what you get in most apps. You can also rewind or fast forward 10 seconds at a time. The app allows you to mark sections of your timeline to name them, which can be helpful and certainly something we haven't seen anywhere else. I was going to say it is the worst audio recording feature I've seen in 2024 because it doesn't sync, but the timeline marker can be an acceptable compromise. What do you guys think? It is extra work, but it's probably better than nothing. I've never liked the idea of adding a play icon into my notes. Kilonotes even lets you resize and all. Let me know how you feel about the audio recording feature in the app. The Lasso Tool in Kilonotes is selective for your handwriting, photos, text boxes, Doodle Pen, highlighter, and shapes. I thought it wouldn't pick up the Cartesian planes and the shapes because they didn't dim out after my selection, but it did. It can either be freehand or rectangular, and you can resize your selection, rotate it, take screenshots of it that you can drag and drop into other apps. While on drag and drop, you can also bring items into Kilonotes, which completes the feature. You can move your selection around the page, but you can't move it across the pages in the same notebook. That is always an annoying limitation, but a lot of users are not bothered by that because there are always some decent workarounds for it. Kilonotes also lets you translate your handwriting, which would be great if the OCR was good. Unfortunately, it is not. The app doesn't have handwriting conversion, but you can change the color of your ink. Cards in Kilonotes feel like incomplete flashcards with a concept borrowed, in part, from Margin Note. After naming your card, picking a color for it from 4 options and adding some content to it, it just stops making sense. The cards don't have a front and back, only a front, I guess this is the front. The next thing, tapping a card only gives you options to delete or edit it. You can also see the source, which is where you created the card from. In the workspace, you can create cards from your notes by simply selecting a section, choosing a color, and tagging it. It's definitely a work in progress, nothing to be excited about yet, but we'll keep an eye on the space. Handwriting search is a hit and miss, but the app did manage to search through my terrible handwriting. It's safe to assume that the app does search through your handwriting. The app can also search through your cards and other notebooks in the app. I love that universal search is integrated into the search tool and not on the homepage. You can even search things on Google without leaving the app. But I thought Apple banned this or something, at least according to the Notability developers, which is why they removed a similar feature from their app a couple of years ago. Are the Kilonotes developers breaching protocol? The previews for your found terms are quite decent, so finding what you're looking for won't be hard at all. Kilonotes does not support dark mode, not even the false one. Your user interface does not change, neither do your pages. In 2024, well, that's disappointing to see because iPadOS has supported this feature for years now. At least it supports multiple instances and you can open the same notebook twice. Even have some windows in slide over. Do you guys also get that annoying iCloud pop-up? And it's driving me nuts. It's there constantly, all the time. The app doesn't have any in-app multitasking. You can only open one notebook at a time. There are no tabs or in-app split views. It works in Stage Manager, but data detection doesn't. You can scribble inside your text boxes, but we don't have any widgets for the app. iPadOS support is not great. Navigating hyperlinks is a two-step process when you're using your pen tool. When you're not, it's much faster. You can view all the pages in your notebook. I love how easy it is to add the current template. Even managed to keep the hyperlinks active on the new pages, so you shouldn't have any trouble using all digital notebooks in the app. You can also add different templates, so a single notebook can have different page templates. Multiple page selection doesn't have a lot of offers, unfortunately. You can only delete or copy the selected pages. Kilonotes can enlarge your pages, which slightly distorted our digital notebook template. I like that the crop portion has a template as well, so it can also be squared, lined, and dotted. The extra space is great for adding more notes if you run out of space on your page. The only problem is that you can only do this for all the pages in your notebook. You can't choose which pages you apply this to. That control will make this feature more complete. Adding space is not the same as changing the page size. The same way you can enlarge, you can also crop the pages. Kilonotes does not support page rotation, which is a must-have in 2024. You can also view your cards and filter which ones you see by tag or color. The sidebar is resizable for your cards. I'm not sure why it's not for your notebook pages. Kilonotes can export your notes as PDF, images, or the Kilonotes zip file. It automatically selects all your pages, which is great if you want to export all of them. I just wanted to export the ones with notes on them, so deselecting that many pages wasn't pleasant. For a document with only 8 pages, I felt it's a little too big. The handwriting exported was good, but the text boxes are terrible. Despite adding hyperlinks, the app can't export active ones. And that was a very disappointing surprise. Kilonotes differentiates sharing and exporting. They are pretty much the same. The app separates them, of course, but this is effectively the same thing. They could just combine the features, have one less feature for users to worry about. Creating outlines is a bit different, but also feels incomplete. The heading labels don't follow a natural hierarchy, they just feel like they're floating in midair. If an outline doesn't support nesting, it shouldn't present levels. It's just confusing. This is the worst outline we have seen in a handwriting note taking app, and this app doesn't even have a bookmark feature. So it's just bad. And it's just one of the many reasons why organization is terrible in Kilonotes. The app supports folders within folders for at least 3 levels. I was fascinated by the interesting reverse folder system you have in the app that we've never seen anywhere else. You can create a new notebook first and then create the folder. I like how the folder looks, the icon, it's different. This is probably a better folders icon than the ones that we're used to. You can merge documents in the app, and merging is always a handy tool to have, so I'm happy to see it. The sidebar gives you a better way to navigate your folders in the app. You can display your documents by type, date, and label, but we don't have lists though, which are a decent option to have. Auto backup is limited to Baidu, no Google Drive, no Dropbox. We should be able to back up to at least one common cloud storage. Manual backup is painful. It is the only option we have unless you have a Baidu account or are willing to create one. It's not the best setup for a digital workflow, and your backup is not even usable because it's not properly labeled. If you do have the patience to create one, you still can't use it. This is a massive drawback because Kilonotes doesn't have both syncing and auto backup. Anything happens to the app, you're losing everything. I know there's no backup in the app because each time I open the app, it takes me to the app settings for it. But there's nothing here related to iCloud syncing or accounts. I've had a terrible experience with iCloud so much that I want nothing to do with this app. Kilonotes has a different approach to a lot of things that makes it a unique app, but without any reliable auto backup or syncing system, the developers should really look into giving us more options for auto backup. I am hesitant to recommend Kilonotes for any serious note-taking. This is definitely not an app I would consider using, considering the different types of apps that are available on the iPad for taking notes. Let me know what you guys think about Kilonotes. Is it an app that you want to try? Are there any features that you've seen in the app that you've been looking for in your handwriting note-taking app? Do tell.